Let me tell you about the night Zadie Kincaid made her worst hiring decision. She was standing in her corner office on the 53rd floor of a building she didn't own but controlled anyway, watching the East River turn gold under the setting sun. Manhattan spread out beneath her like a chessboard, and Zadie Kincaid had spent the last 12 years learning exactly which pieces to sacrifice. She ran Kincaid Intelligence Group, the kind of company that didn't advertise, didn't take walk-ins, and definitely didn't show up on LinkedIn. If you needed to know who was embezzling from your hedge fund, who your business partner was sleeping with, or what your competitor's wife said during her therapy session last Thursday, Zadie could get it for you. For a price that would make most people reconsider their curiosity. $900 million. That's what 13 years of extracting other people's secrets had earned her. And she'd spent every single one of those years making sure no one could do the same to her. Until Holden Tate walked into her office on a Tuesday night in October, smelling like cheap bourbon and expensive regret. If you're already hooked, do me a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you're going to want to see where this goes. Holden wasn't supposed to be there. Her assistant had gone home hours ago. Security should have stopped him at the lobby. But there he was, sitting in the chair across from her desk like he'd been invited, wearing a black shirt that had seen better days and a watch that had definitely seen better owners. "You're Zadie Kincaid," he said. Not a question. "And you're trespassing." She didn't sit down. Didn't offer him the courtesy of her attention. "You have 30 seconds before I have you removed." "I need a job." "I'm not hiring." "Yes, you are." He leaned forward, and that's when she saw it. The thing that separated desperate men from dangerous ones. Intelligence. The kind that had been sharpened on failure and loss until it could cut through anything. "You're hiring someone to infiltrate Ivy Marchant's wedding this weekend. Someone who can get close, extract information, and disappear." "I'm that someone." Zadie's expression didn't change, but something in her chest went very still. She'd been careful. The wedding job was need to know. 3 people in the world were aware of it, and none of them would have told a broke journalist with a death wish. "How did you?" "Your driver." Holden smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Gerald. Nice guy. Takes his daughter to St. Vincent's for chemotherapy every other Thursday. I served him coffee for 6 months at the place I work. Worked past tense. They fired me this morning. He talks when he's tired. And he was very tired last week." It was a threat and a resume all at once. This man had just proven he could extract intel from someone in her own inner circle without her knowing. That made him either incredibly valuable or incredibly dangerous. Possibly both. "Why would I hire someone I can't trust?" Zadie asked. "Because I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to use me. There's a difference." He stood up, and she noticed he was taller than she'd expected. Broad-shouldered in a way that suggested he'd done real work, not just gym posturing. "I know what you're planning. You need someone at that wedding who can blend in, who knows how to read people, who won't crack under pressure. I was an investigative journalist for 7 years before He stopped. Swallowed. "Before I made a mistake that cost someone their life. So yeah, I'm motivated. I'm good. And I'm desperate enough to do whatever you need without asking questions." "What's your price?" $200,000. Flat fee. She almost laughed. "For a weekend's work?" "For a weekend of becoming someone else well enough that Ivy Marchant's entire social circle believes it. For smiling at people I'd rather spit on. For extracting information from a woman I'm guessing you used to care about, or you wouldn't be going through this much trouble." He met her eyes. and for keeping my mouth shut afterward. Forever. Zadie walked to the window, studied his reflection in the glass. He was 29, maybe 30. Handsome in a way that would photograph well, but not so polished that he'd seem out of place. There was something raw about him. Something that hadn't been media trained or focus grouped into submission. The target isn't Ivy, Zadie said quietly. It's her fiancé, Marcus Holloway. He's a pharmaceutical executive. I need access to his laptop, specifically emails between him and a doctor named Reeves. You'll be attending as my date. You'll be charming. You'll be forgettable. And you'll get me what I need without anyone noticing you were ever there. Why? That's not part of the job description. Holden tilted his head. If I'm going to lie convincingly for you, I need to know what the truth is. Otherwise, I'm just guessing. And guessing gets people caught. He had a point. A frustrating, accurate point. Marcus Holloway's company produces a drug called Levotrol. It's prescribed for cardiac patients. Last year, there were 73 deaths linked to adverse reactions. The FDA investigated. Found nothing. Case closed. Zadie turned to face him. But someone buried the real data. Someone paid a medical examiner to reclassify cause of death. And I think Marcus Holloway knows exactly who. Why do you care? The question landed harder than it should have. Zadie felt something sharp twist behind her ribs. That's not part of the job description either. Holden studied her for a long moment. Then nodded. When do we leave? Friday. 4 p.m. Helicopter from the West Side pad. We'll be staying at the Ashford Estate in Southampton. The wedding is Saturday evening. You'll need a tuxedo, a believable backstory, and the ability to pretend you're in love with me for 72 hours. Which part do you think will be hardest? The part where you don't screw this up. She expected him to leave. Instead, he walked closer. Close enough that she could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow. Close enough to smell the faded cologne and the exhaustion underneath it. I Googled you, Holden said softly. Before I came here. You know what I found? Almost nothing. A few business profiles. Some charity gala photos where you're always standing just outside the frame. It's impressive, actually. Most people leave a trail. You've erased yours. He paused. So whoever Marcus Holloway hurt, whoever you're trying to protect by going after him, I'm guessing it's someone you couldn't erase. Zadie's jaw tightened. Get out. See you Friday, Ms. Kincaid. He left without another word. And Zadie stood there in her empty office, watching the city lights blink on one by one, wondering what kind of mistake she'd just made. Because the truth was, Holden Tate was right. She wasn't doing this for justice. She wasn't even doing it for revenge. She was doing it because 5 years ago, she was engaged to a man named David Marchant, Ivy's older brother, the golden boy of Manhattan society, the heir to a media empire, the man everyone said was perfect for her. And he was. On paper. In photographs. In every way that mattered to people who measured love in terms of market value and social standing. But 3 weeks before the wedding, Zadie realized something that made her blood run cold. She wasn't in love with David. She was in love with Ivy. It had been building for years. Every late-night conversation. Every stolen glance across a dinner table. Every moment when Ivy looked at her like she was the only person in the room who mattered. Zadie had told herself it was friendship. Admiration. Anything other than what it actually was. Until the night Ivy kissed her in the wine cellar of the Marchant family estate, and Zadie kissed her back, and the world caught fire. They'd kept it secret for 2 weeks. 2 perfect, impossible weeks. And then Ivy's father found out. Thomas Marchant was old money, old values, and old enough to believe he could control his children's lives with the precision of a corporate merger. He told Zadie exactly what would happen if she didn't end things. He'd destroy her business, ruin Ivy's reputation, make sure neither of them ever worked in New York again. So Zadie did what she'd always done when faced with an impossible choice. She disappeared. She left David at the altar. Literally. Walked out of the church 20 minutes before the ceremony, got in a car, and didn't come back. She let everyone believe she'd had a breakdown. A crisis of faith. Cold feet. She never told anyone the real reason. And she never spoke to Ivy again. Until 3 weeks ago, when Zadie's surveillance software flagged something that made her stomach drop. Ivy was engaged. To Marcus Holloway. The same Marcus Holloway whose negligence had killed 73 people. The same Marcus Holloway who'd paid off investigators and buried evidence and walked away clean. And the wedding was in 6 days. Zadie couldn't stop it. She had no legal standing, no proof, no reason to interfere. But she could do one thing. She could make sure Ivy knew exactly who she was marrying. Even if it meant hiring a stranger to extract the truth. Even if it meant seeing Ivy again after 5 years of silence. Even if it destroyed her all over again. Friday came faster than Zadie wanted. She stood on the helicopter pad at 4:15, watching Holden Tate approach with a duffel bag and a suit carrier. He looked different, cleaner. His hair was trimmed, his jaw freshly shaved, and he was wearing dark jeans and a gray sweater that probably cost more than his rent. "You clean up well," Zadie said. "You look terrified," Holden replied. "I don't do terrified." "Right. You just hire ex-journalists to infiltrate your ex-almost sister-in-law's wedding to expose her fiancé's crimes. Super normal. Very chill." Zadie glared at him. "How did you? I'm good at my job. Or I was before I destroyed my career." He tossed his bag into the helicopter. "Ivy Marchant. David Marchant's sister. You were engaged to him 5 years ago, and then you vanished. No one knows why. But I'm guessing it has something to do with the fact that you've been tracking Ivy's social media through 3 different proxy accounts for the last 4 years. You hacked me. I researched you. There's a difference." He climbed into the helicopter, then offered her a hand. "If we're going to sell this, I need to know who I'm pretending to be in love with. So here's the deal. You tell me the truth, and I'll make this so convincing even you'll believe it. Or you keep lying and we crash and burn before dessert." Zadie didn't take his hand. She climbed in on her own, buckled herself into the seat across from him, and stared out the window as the helicopter lifted off. "I was in love with her," Zadie said finally. "Ivy, not David. And when her father found out, he gave me a choice. Disappear or he'd destroy both of us. So I disappeared." Holden was quiet for a long time. Then, "And now she's marrying the man whose company killed your mother." Zadie's head snapped toward him. "What? Levitrol. 73 deaths. You said you were looking for proof that Marcus buried the real data. But you didn't say why you cared." Holden's voice was soft, almost gentle. "My mother died 14 months ago. Cardiac arrest. She was on Levitrol. The doctors said it was a pre-existing condition. But I pulled her medical records. Requested the autopsy. and the examiner's report didn't match the hospital's version. Someone changed it. Zadie felt the air leave her lungs. Your mother. Eleanor Tate. She was a nurse. Worked doubles to put me through journalism school. She didn't deserve what happened to her. Holden looked at her, and for the first time, Zadie saw past the bravado, past the desperation. So yeah, I took this job for the money, but I'm staying for the same reason you're doing this. Because Marcus Holloway killed someone I love, and he's going to marry someone you love, and maybe if we do this right, we can stop him from hurting anyone else. The helicopter banked over the water. Below them, the Hamptons stretched out like a postcard. Mansions, beaches, the kind of wealth that insulated people from consequences. What's the play? Holden asked. Zadie pulled a folder from her bag. Inside were blueprints, schedules, and a photo of Marcus Holloway. Handsome, silver-haired, smiling like he'd never made a mistake in his life. The wedding is at the Ashford estate. 200 guests. Security will be tight, but they're focused on keeping paparazzi out, not monitoring the guests inside. Marcus will have his laptop in the villa. He never travels without it. We need to access it during the rehearsal dinner. That's when he'll be distracted. And how do I get into the villa? Zadie hesitated, then pulled out a second photo. Ivy Marchant. Dark hair. Sharp cheekbones. The kind of beauty that looked effortless but wasn't. She was standing on a yacht, laughing at something off camera, and Zadie hated how much it still hurt to look at her. You don't, Zadie said quietly. I do. And if you're dying to know what happens next, and trust me, you are, make sure you're subscribed. Because this is about to get messy. The Ashford estate was exactly what Zadie expected. Too much marble. Too many chandeliers. The kind of place where every surface was designed to remind you that you didn't belong. Ivy was waiting in the main foyer when they arrived. She looked older. Sharper. Like someone had taken the girl Zadie remembered and replaced her with a woman who'd learned how to wear armor. Zadie. Ivy's voice was controlled. Polite. The kind of politeness that could cut glass. I didn't think you'd come. I wouldn't miss it. And you brought a date. Holden stepped forward, all charm and ease. Holden Tate. It's an honor to meet you, Ms. Marchant. Zadie's told me so much about you. Has she? Ivy's eyes flicked between them. How long have you two been together? 6 months. Zadie lied smoothly. We met at a charity auction. He bid on a date with me. I made him work for it. How romantic. Ivy's smile didn't reach her eyes. Well, you're in the East Wing. Dinner is at 8. Try not to be late. She walked away, heels clicking against marble, and Zadie felt something inside her crack. She hates you, Holden said quietly. She has every right to. Does she know why you left? No. Are you going to tell her? That's not why we're here. But as they unpacked in the villa, a sprawling suite with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the ocean, Zadie couldn't stop thinking about the way Ivy had looked at her. Like she was a stranger. Like the 5 years between them had erased everything they'd been. Tell me about her, Holden said suddenly. Zadie looked up from her suitcase. What? Ivy. If I'm going to help you pull this off, I need to understand what you're protecting. So tell me, what was she like? Before everything went wrong. Zadie sat down on the edge of the bed. Closed her eyes. She was the only person who ever made me feel like I didn't have to be perfect, Zadie said softly. Everyone else in my life wanted something. connections, access, leverage. But Ivy just wanted me. The version of me that laughed too loud and drank too much wine and stayed up until 3 a.m. arguing about whether fate was real or just a comforting lie. She opened her eyes. She made me believe I could be more than what I'd built. And then I left her. Because I was too afraid to fight for it. Holden was quiet for a moment. Then, "You're still in love with her." "It doesn't matter. It's the only thing that matters." Before Zadie could respond, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Library. 10 p.m. Come alone." Zadie stared at the message. Then showed it to Holden. "It's a trap," he said immediately. "Or it's a chance." "For what?" "To tell her the truth. And if Marcus finds out you're here to sabotage his wedding?" "Then we improvise." Holden shook his head. "You're going to get us both killed." "Probably." But at 10 p.m., Zadie was standing outside the estate library, heart pounding, wondering if she was about to make everything worse. The door opened. Ivy stood there, backlit by firelight, and for a moment, Zadie forgot how to breathe. "Why are you really here?" Ivy asked. "I told you." Don't." Ivy's voice was sharp. "Don't lie to me. Not after everything. You don't show up to my wedding with some random man on your arm and expect me to believe it's a coincidence. So tell me the truth, Zadie. Why are you here?" Zadie stepped inside, closed the door behind her. "Because the man you're marrying is dangerous," she said quietly. "And I couldn't let you do this without knowing what he's done." Ivy's expression shifted. Confusion. Anger. Something that might have been fear. "What are you talking about?" Marcus Holloway's company buried evidence of 73 deaths linked to one of their drugs. He paid off a medical examiner. He lied to the FDA. And he's going to get away with it because people like him always do. Unless someone stops him. And you decided that someone should be you? "I decided that you deserved to know the truth before you married him." Ivy laughed. It was a bitter, broken sound. "You're unbelievable. You vanish for 5 years. You don't call. You don't write. You don't give me a single explanation for why you left David at the altar and destroyed my family. And now you show up and expect me to believe you're here because you care." "I do care." "Then why did you leave?" The question hung in the air between them. Zadie took a breath. Then another. "Because I was in love with you," she said finally. "And your father found out. And he told me that if I didn't disappear, he'd make sure you never worked again. He'd ruin your reputation. He'd tell everyone that you'd seduced your brother's fiancée. He'd make your life hell. So I left. Because I thought it was the only way to protect you." Ivy stared at her. Silent. Stunned. "You left because you loved me?" "I left because I loved you more than I loved myself." "And you didn't think I deserved to make that choice?" "I thought you deserved a life that wasn't destroyed by my feelings." Ivy crossed the room. Stood so close Zadie could see the flecks of gold in her eyes. "I spent 5 years thinking you didn't care," Ivy said quietly. 5 years believing I was just collateral damage in whatever breakdown you had. And now you're telling me it was all a lie. That you destroyed both of us because you were trying to protect me." "Yes." "And Marcus. The accusations about his company? Is that real, or is this just another manipulation?" "It's real. I have evidence. I can prove it." Ivy turned away. Walked to the window. stared out at the dark ocean. "If what you're saying is true," she said slowly, "then my entire life is built on lies. My engagement, my career, everything I thought I was moving toward." "I know. And if you're wrong, then I've destroyed you all over again." Ivy was quiet for a long time. "Then, prove it." "What?" "Prove that Marcus is who you say he is. Show me the evidence. And if you're right, if he really is responsible for those deaths, then I'll call off the wedding. But if you're lying, Zadie, if this is just some twisted way to get me back, then I never want to see you again." Zadie nodded. "Deal. And your date?" "Holden. He's helping me." "Why?" "Because Marcus's company killed his mother." Ivy's expression cracked. Just for a second. Then she pulled it back together. "The laptop is in Marcus's study. 3rd floor. He'll be at the rehearsal dinner tomorrow night. You'll have 2 hours. Maybe less. If you get caught." "I won't." "If you get caught," Ivy repeated, "I can't protect you. Do you understand?" "I understand." Ivy walked to the door, paused with her hand on the handle. "For what it's worth," she said quietly, "I loved you too, and I hate you for not trusting me enough to fight for us." Then she was gone, and Zadie stood alone in the library, wondering if she'd just been given a second chance or a death sentence. Part 2. The rehearsal dinner was everything Zadie had expected. Overpriced champagne. Fake laughter. 100 people pretending they cared about love when really they cared about proximity to power. Marcus Holloway gave a toast that made Zadie's skin crawl. "To Ivy," he said, raising his glass. "The woman who taught me that some things are worth more than money. Like loyalty. Like trust. Like knowing that the person standing beside you will never betray you." Everyone applauded. Zadie watched Ivy's face. Saw the flicker of doubt. Good. At 9:30, Holden created a distraction. He'd been charming bridesmaids all evening, and when he accidentally knocked over a champagne tower, the entire room turned to watch the chaos. Zadie slipped out. The 3rd floor was quiet. Empty. She found Marcus's study exactly where Ivy said it would be. The door was unlocked. Careless. Arrogant. The laptop was on the desk. Zadie plugged in the USB drive she'd brought. Started the download. 3 minutes. That's how long she had before the software flagged the breach. 2 minutes passed. The files started transferring. Emails. Documents. Medical reports. 1 minute left. Footsteps in the hallway. Zadie's heart stopped. The door opened. But it wasn't Marcus. It was Holden. "We have a problem," he said. "What?" "Marcus knows. Someone tipped him off. He's coming up here. Now. How much time do I have?" 30 seconds. Maybe. The download was at 92%. Zadie stared at the screen. Then at Holden. "Go," she said. "Zadie. Go. If he finds you here, we both lose. If he finds me, I can talk my way out. You can't. Go." Holden hesitated. Then ran. The download hit 100%. Zadie yanked out the USB, shoved it into her bra, and closed the laptop. The door burst open. Marcus Holloway stood there, flanked by 2 security guards. "Well," he said, smiling, "this is unexpected." Zadie had been in worse situations. Barely. Marcus dismissed the security guards with a wave. Closed the door. Locked it. "You're Zadie Kincaid," he said. "Ivy mentioned you'd be here." I didn't realize you were so interested in my work. I'm interested in the truth. The truth. Marcus laughed, poured himself a scotch from the bar cart. The truth is that people die. Every day. From cars. From disease. From their own poor choices. My company produces medicine that saves thousands of lives. If a few dozen people have adverse reactions, that's unfortunate. But it's not criminal. You buried evidence. I protected my company from frivolous lawsuits. You paid off a medical examiner. I ensured that the science was interpreted correctly. You killed 73 people. Marcus's expression hardened. And you're going to tell Ivy? Ruin her wedding? For what? Revenge. Jealousy. Some misguided sense of justice. For the truth. The truth, Marcus said slowly, is that Ivy doesn't care. She knows what I've done. She knows who I am. And she's marrying me anyway. Because she understands something you never did, Zadie. Power isn't about being right. It's about being untouchable. Zadie felt something cold settle in her chest. You're lying. Am I? Ask her yourself. She's been standing outside that door for the last 5 minutes. The door opened. Ivy walked in. And Zadie's world collapsed. You knew. Zadie's voice was barely a whisper. Ivy didn't look at her. Marcus, give us a moment. Ivy. Now. Marcus left. Reluctantly. When the door closed, Ivy finally met Zadie's eyes. Yes, she said quietly. I knew. How long? 6 months. I found the files. The emails. The payoffs. All of it. And you stayed with him? I stayed because my father made me a deal. Marry Marcus, and he'd forgive the debt my brother racked up before he died. $300 million, Zadie. That's what David owed to people who don't accept late payments. I marry Marcus, and my family survives. I don't, and we lose everything. Zadie felt like she'd been hit. David's dead. 2 years ago. Overdose. You didn't know because you disappeared so completely that no one could find you to tell you. Ivy's voice cracked. So yes. I knew what Marcus was. And I chose to marry him anyway. Because sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes survival is all you have left. So what now? Ivy pulled a phone from her pocket. Held it up. On the screen was a video. Marcus. Confessing everything. The buried data. The bribes. The deaths. You recorded him? Zadie breathed. I've been recording him for months. Every conversation. Every meeting. Every time he thought he was safe. Ivy's smile was sharp. You think I'd marry a monster without an exit strategy? I've been waiting for the right moment to burn him. And you just gave it to me. Why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to know if you'd come. If you'd risk everything for me. Even after 5 years. Even after I told you I hated you. Ivy stepped closer. You passed, by the way. In case you were wondering. Zadie didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This was a test. This was a trap. For Marcus. For you. For both of us, maybe. Ivy reached out. Touched Zadie's face. I spent 5 years hating you. And then I realized something. I didn't hate you for leaving. I hated you for not trusting me to fight beside you. Ivy. Shut up. I'm not done. Ivy's eyes were bright with tears. I'm going to marry Marcus tomorrow. I'm going to smile for the photos. I'm going to say the vows. And then, at the reception, I'm going to play that video for every single guest. I'm going to destroy him in front of everyone he's ever tried to impress. And then I'm going to walk away. From him. From my father. From all of it. And then what? And then, Ivy said softly, I'm going to find out if the woman I loved 5 years ago still exists under all that armor you wear. Zadie kissed her. It was desperate and furious and 5 years overdue. It was an apology and a promise and a confession all at once. When they finally pulled apart, Ivy was smiling. For the record, she murmured, I would have fought for us. If you'd let me. I know. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just don't leave again. I won't. Promise. Promise. Okay, quick pause. If your heart is racing right now, imagine what's coming next. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single story like this one. The wedding the next day was perfect. Too perfect. Ivy walked down the aisle in a dress that cost more than most people's houses. Marcus stood at the altar looking like he'd already won. The officiant began the ceremony. And Holden leaned over to whisper in Zadie's ear, Are we really going to let this happen? Wait for it, Zadie murmured. The vows were exchanged. The rings were presented. And then, just as the officiant opened his mouth to pronounce them married, the lights went out. A screen descended from the ceiling, and Marcus Holloway's face appeared, larger than life, confessing everything. The room erupted. Guests shouted. Security rushed the stage. Marcus lunged for Ivy, but Holden was faster. He tackled Marcus to the ground, and suddenly there were police, real police, not private security, flooding the venue. Because Ivy had sent the evidence to the FBI that morning. Because this wasn't just about revenge. This was about justice. 3 months later, Zadie stood in her office. Same view. Same city. Different woman. Holden was there too. He'd used the money from the job to finish his journalism degree and had just landed a position at a major investigative outlet. His first story? An expose on pharmaceutical corruption that would run on the front page of the New York Times. You did it, Zadie said. We did it, Holden corrected. Fair enough. The door opened. Ivy walked in. She was wearing jeans and a sweater. No designer labels. No armor. Just herself. I brought lunch, she said, holding up a bag. You didn't have to do that. I know. I wanted to. Holden stood. That's my cue to leave. You don't have to. I really do. Some things are meant to be private. He paused at the door. Looked back at Zadie. For what it's worth. You made the right call. All of it. When he was gone, Ivy set the bag on Zadie's desk. Unpacked sandwiches and coffee. How's the new job? Zadie asked. Terrifying. Exhilarating. Underpaid. Ivy smiled. I love it. After Marcus's arrest, Ivy had walked away from her family's money. Started over. She was working at a non-profit now, helping families navigate medical malpractice cases. Any regrets? Zadie asked. About Marcus? No. About my father? Not even a little. Ivy paused. About you. Every single day. What do you mean? I regret the time we lost. The years we spent apart. The fact that we almost didn't get this. Ivy reached across the desk. Took Zadie's hand. But I don't regret fighting for it. Not anymore. Zadie squeezed her hand. Me neither. They ate lunch. talked about nothing important, laughed about something stupid Holden had said at dinner the week before. And when Ivy left, Zadie stood at the window again. Same view. Same city. But this time, when she looked at the lights blinking on across Manhattan, she didn't see a chessboard. She saw possibilities. She saw a future that wasn't built on extraction and secrets and survival. She saw a life that was worth fighting for. And for the first time in 5 years, Zadie Kincaid allowed herself to believe she deserved it. Marcus Holloway was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. His company was dismantled. The families of the 73 victims received settlements that would never replace their losses but at least acknowledged the truth. Holden Tate won a Pulitzer Prize for his investigative series on pharmaceutical corruption. Ivy Marchant became one of the most effective advocates for medical malpractice reform in the country. And Zadie Kincaid? She was still running Kincaid Intelligence Group, still extracting secrets, still helping people find the truth. But now, when she went home at night, there was someone waiting for her. Someone who knew every scar, every secret, every mistake. Someone who'd chosen her anyway. And that, Zadie had learned, was worth more than $900 million. It was worth everything. If this story hit you the way it hit me writing it, subscribe, like, and drop a comment telling me which character you connected with most. And stay tuned, because this channel has more stories like this coming your way. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's next.